Welcome back to another episode of 168 Hours of Productivity. My name is Winnie Standish and I am a strategic business coach. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Kirsten Jordan, who is a digital and social media strategist. And for more than 15 years, Kirsten has lived and breathed all things digitally, both professionally and personally. She's passionate about helping female entrepreneurs build genuine presences digitally online that presents both who they are and what they believe in. So without further ado, let's bring on our special guest today. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Winnie. I am excited.
I've been secretly wanting you to come on because I need to up my own game on the social media stage. So, I have some hidden agendas here.
I think you're doing a pretty good job. And we were chatting beforehand, I was like, I really am admiring your video setup. So maybe we can swap some tips.
Absolutely. Well, today I'm excited to kind of learn a little bit more about what you do and how you help small business owners. So why don't we just dive into it? You want to start by telling us what it is that you do and how you got to where you are right now?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to take, how many hours do we have? No, I will keep this short. So that's tip number one, keep videos bite-sized or curated for social media for sure. So how did I get to where I am today? So I'm going to take us back to when I was on maternity leave with my son, who is now 2.5 years old. I actually decided to launch my own website that connected mothers in the Toronto area with things to do while they were on mat leave. You're nodding because I reached out to you when I launched the website, because I'm in the East York area of Toronto, and I wanted to highlight all of the local businesses that were doing amazing things for new mothers and new parents in particular. And this had been a website that my background is in digital, and on this particular mat leave, I really wanted to do something different. I didn't, I'd kind of gone through like the baby groups. I had my mom friends. I was like, I want to keep my digital strategy, digital marketing skills sharp, because that's what I work in. And through that experience, I met a lot of amazing female entrepreneurs. So my son Andrew and I used to trek around, the Danforth area. I met with Shammy at Silly Goose, Workaround, Amanda. I used to have little mini meetings at the Workaround. And so we were kind of like a duo. And through that, I really, I became acquainted with sort of this other part or another part of this world that I didn't really know that it existed. And through conversations, I really realized that, a lot of female entrepreneurs struggle with digital. They struggle with social media in particular. And, the wheels began turning, Winnie, and I was like, how can I actually connect all the things that I'm passionate about? Like, I'm passionate about helping mothers, helping women, being a part of the community that I live in, and I'm a digital geek at heart. How can I bring that all, how can I bring that all together? And, when my mat leave wrapped up, I decided to take the plunge, and, I shut down the website Mat Leave Map, unfortunately, but it led me to doing what I am now, which is actually working specifically with female entrepreneurs on their social media and digital marketing strategies. And I love it. I've been in consulting for just over a year, and I've had the opportunity to, strengthen some of the relationships that I, developed during the Mat Leave Map experience. Met some new female entrepreneurs, and it's been a lot of fun. And I feel in my own way, I'm helping bring visibility to businesses that need to be more visible, especially in the world of social.
Yeah, especially those small brick and mortar businesses, such as who I used to be. I know firsthand how hard it can be to manage it all. And the social media is often the area that, gets lacked, even though it's so important in our day and age now. Can you tell a little bit more about how you specifically help small businesses? Like what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that I work with businesses, and it really depends on where they're at. And so, right now we're talking about social media, and my services do go beyond that into the world of digital marketing. But I think often people want to start with social media. That's something that they know that they need to be more visible on. They know that will help their businesses. So, there's two streams of work that I do in this area. One is I work with a business specifically to do their social media strategy. And what that entails is, we look at the landscape. I'm a big believer in looking at the data, the external environment that we are operating in. There's a lot of factors that come into play. Looking at, what can we learn from comparators? I don't often use the word competitors because we're all competing with one another in some shape or form. And I think, we all want to help one another. And so, but we can learn from one another. And so I think it's really important that we look at sort of best practices from a social media and a digital perspective. I look at, what would it really elevate your presence on social to the next level? And I package it up and we do a strategy session, and then the business takes it away and does it themselves. Sort of that DIY model. I'm still on hand to answer any questions if you get stuck, and, I'm always here to help. So that's sort of one area of work that I do. The other side is I do the strategy, but then I do take on some clients to do the one-on-one work where I stay with you, help with the content creation from a development and the execution perspective. So you don't have to worry about anything. Well, not quite everything, which I can get into in a second.
Well, that's definitely the key. But so how exactly does the right social media strategy help you get clients? Because often what I see is that people are like, oh, I want to have, 10,000 followers on Instagram. And when people say that to me, I always challenge them and say, but why? What are you hoping to get by having those 10,000? Is that going to
So I have turned down people whose specific goal has been to reach 10,000 followers because, yes, it can be done. But there's tactics that probably wouldn't be aligned with my own values that would get you there, right? And so it has to be the right fit for me, and it has to be for the right fit for the business that wants to work with me. There's thousands of social media strategists out there in the Toronto area and there are more in the world. I'm not the right fit for everyone. And I think the people that gravitate toward me and the people I gravitate toward are really the ones that are looking for that quality social media experience. And so I'll use myself as an example. Right now on Instagram, I have over 750 followers. I'm going to remove the word just because I have 750 followers. Some people might look at that, though, to your point of the 10,000 goal and say, well, why would I hire a social media strategist that only has 750 followers? She's probably not that successful. And I will always challenge someone and say, it is quality over quantity. And I could have only 50 followers, but if those 50 followers are paying me and working with me, I would say I'm pretty damn successful. I hope it's okay to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even more so as well, like if they're engaging with you on your platform, I find that so much more valuable than just having these 700 followers. And if you never get a comment or an interaction or even a like, then it's just for nothing, right?
Yeah, and I think in today's world, everybody thinks, unfortunately, still in the follower sort of the likes landscape, and that is the social media world is really changing. I would say, years ago, maybe that was the case. Maybe that was sort of the gold standard, right? But really, how a good social media strategy and presence can benefit a small business in particular is it allows you to connect on an ongoing basis with the people that you want to either buy from you or to work with, right? So you could be a product-based business, you could be bricks and mortar, you could be service-based. So it allows you to develop those ongoing relationships. And I think, going back to what I said earlier in terms of the external landscape that we're in, right now we're in a pandemic, we're in COVID. There's a lot going on in people's lives. Now might not be the time. And this is something that, I worked with the women that were in my social media course around was, now might not be the time to like seek exponential growth with your communities. But what you could do is really focus in on the community that you've built and nurtured and really focus on those relationships. Because if you do, those are the people that are going to refer you to their friends. And so if your audience is, say, I want to reach mothers who are mid-30s, oftentimes those women don't have open social media network or social media presences, right? How else are you going to be able to reach them? You're going to reach them through maybe someone who's already bought from you. They're going to refer you maybe behind the closed social media doors, but then that person is going to come into your world through the referral. So there's a lot at play, I think, where focus on the building the relationships of the community that you have, and you are going to see growth from there for sure.
Yeah, and it's all about the touch points too, right? Like I think the new statistic is that you need about 27
yeah, not 7 anymore.
It's like, that's a huge amount. So we have to remember too that if they see you on Instagram or on Facebook or on LinkedIn, like it all adds up. Even if they don't like you, they still see it, right? Like it kind of shows up in that subconscious mind, and it all adds up.
And I mean, the thing is so I'll tell a story. So there's a woman that lives in my neighborhood, and I saw on her Instagram, that she had commissioned a piece of art from, an up and coming artist in the area. And I was like, I really like this. I'm actually gonna do the same. And so I actually reached out to the artist, and I got her, I wish I could show you, a piece of work in my brand colors. So the pinks and the turquoises and the yellows. And from that, a friend of mine, she's like, oh, I love that. I'm gonna do the same. And I was like, bang, bang, bang. There's 2 new clients for, an account that only has under 300 followers in less than a week.
You know what? I love hearing stuff like that, because that really just helps with the momentum for anyone who's just getting started, that you really don't need a lot of followers. You just need them to be the right followers. If you're currently enjoying this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more great content. You mentioned that you primarily work with female business entrepreneurs. So who are these female entrepreneurs? Are they new in business? Have they been in business for a couple of years? Or do you have that kind of formula pinned down, or is it more broad?
I would say that it is broad. I would say mainly the women that gravitate toward me are the ones that, they're looking to build that authentic presence. They're looking for quality content, which I'm sure everybody who's listening to this is as well. Some of them, they skew various industries, right? So, I've worked with people in the fitness, health and wellness, bricks and mortar. You name it, I've probably touched upon it in the last year. And so for me, there's no sort of particular formula of the person that I work with, but I would say it's someone that sees value in what it is that I do. And I also see value in what they do. So it's a nice match.
Right. So that you believe in their product or services and it's in line with your values. No, that's great. And what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? Maybe they're just getting their foot into business and maybe they've started an account. What advice would you give to those new entrepreneurs?
So you don't need to be everywhere. So I'm seeing a lot of chatter, and, myself included, I'm curious about Clubhouse, TikTok in the past year, it started to be on the rise, maybe because people wanted to dance at home. There's nothing else to do. But you don't need to be everywhere. You have to really think about where you're going to be able to reach your audience the best, where you're going to reach maybe even the 5 people that have already bought from you the best, and really focus in on those, because we don't have a lot of time in our lives right now. Our lives are busy. And so I don't want anyone who's listening to this to feel that they have to be on social media 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. That's something that's particularly important to me as well. You just need to go and focus, I would say, at the start, and don't feel that you need to be on every platform. And so really try your best to ignore the chatter that you'll hear in some of those community groups where people are like, oh, I'm this, I'm that,
So don't chase those shiny objects, essentially.
Yeah.
And
sure.
is there then a right amount of platforms? Like I feel like I've heard that you should focus on 2. Is that still the standard or?
Yeah, so usually when I work on somebody's strategy, it's maximum 2, and I'll say typically, at the 3-month mark, maybe let's look, especially if they're working with me from a full service perspective, let's look at weaving in an additional platform. Typically the mix, especially with the people that I've been working with, it's still that Facebook, Instagram mix. And I think, unfortunately, you can't really get away from Facebook at the moment. I'm kind of on the team Facebook might be dying as a platform, but the ads, if you ever want to run ads, you need a Facebook business account, right? And so you can't really escape it. But even if you just focus, say, on one platform, and that one platform is Instagram, get comfortable with it, explore it, get to know the platform, and don't be scared to try. I think it's important.
That's great advice. And then, of course, the big question: when should someone actually hire you? When in their business can they say, okay, it's no longer something that I want to focus on. I need to hire an expert.
So I love working with people from the start because it's a blank slate. But I would say for most people, in your first year, experiment, sort of get a presence going, feel out what works for you, what type of content works for you, and then maybe start to consider, do I need to outsource, or do I need someone to maybe help me with my strategy? But I do believe, and this goes for all digital marketing tactics, that even if you're not the one that's going to end up executing, have a sort of an understanding of how things work. And one of the main reasons being is that if you do go down the road of wanting to outsource, say, your social media, you're coming to the table with an understanding, and you know that the person that you're hiring is, 1, the right fit for you, and 2, knows their stuff. Because this world is constantly changing, and you want to work with someone who keeps up to date and knows what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all great advice. And I also just love that your service offerings are both tailored to someone who's starting out, where you can help them with the strategy, or even the one-to-one for the ones that want the full package, essentially. Yeah. So I think that's really important, especially when you're trying to make that decision and investment. What can you afford right now, and what can you bridge up to? So that's amazing. I also have to ask you, because this show is all about productivity. Do you have a favorite productivity tool that you use every single day or most days that keep you organized, on task, and helps you reach your goals?
Asana.
Asana. Okay. You want to tell me a little bit about why?
So I am probably not your typical social media strategist, where I think, and this is something that I work with people on, is the format that I can give you the most beautiful content calendar template in the world. But if you're not going to use it, there's no point in me creating this for you. And I think that that's something else to always keep in mind. Don't always think that, I hear so often in my DMs, oh, I need a content calendar. I'm like, do you really, or do you need something else? But that's a story for another day. And so I actually do a lot of my planning in like the notes function of the iPhone. I have access to scheduling tools, but sometimes I like to post on the fly. The reason that I like Asana is it allows me on, say, Sundays to actually write out to-dos for the week ahead. And it gives me kind of satisfaction to cross off those to-dos.
That's great. And it sounds like it also helps keep you accountable if there's a task list associated with it.
And it's a good experience.
That's amazing. Well, this has been so educational and so wonderful to have you on here. But where can our audience learn more about you?
So on my website, so kirstenjordan.me, as well as I'm on Instagram mainly at Kirsten Jordan Digital. I'm always up for a conversation and happy to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to reach out if you do.
Amazing. And am I correct that you have a new course coming out as well?
It is the second run of my Perfectly Imperfect social course. So this was a course that I created specifically for female entrepreneurs. I did the beta run in the fall with an amazing group of women. And I'm going to be running it again in March. So stay tuned for more details on that.
Amazing. Well, that sounds like something that everyone should be checking out in order to up their social media game. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure to learn when to hire, and also what tricks and tips we should be implementing right away. So thank you again for your time. It's been
thank you, Winnie.
All right, everyone, that's it for this week's episode. My name is Winnie Standish, and I am a strategic business coach who helps small business owners unlock their true business freedom. If you'd like to learn more about how I help small business owners, you can visit my website at www.winniestandish.com. Have a positive day.